Chapter 4. Not so superior. I tapped my finger against the desk as I turned another page. Still hadn't found a single useful tidbit. I had scoured most of the book, but nothing about sleepwalking. And without my journal, I couldn't check my notes or anything. Okay. Well, it still works. What a waste of time. I flopped back against the wall, having abandoned the desk I'd been at before when my legs started cramping. Picking up my phone, I tried one more time to text Allie, but like all the other messages before it didn't go through. I tossed the phone back in my bag and lightly butted the back of my head against the wall, wondering if we were just going to be stuck in this room for the rest of eternity. 5 years from now, they'd get the door open and they'd just find two skeletons. The smaller one would have its bony hands wrapped around the throat of the larger one, and they'd spend the next year trying to solve the mystery. Ugh. Do you have to make so much noise? I glared at him. Maybe the person who got us stuck in here should stop complaining every time I make the slightest sound. Just a thought. I wasn't even making that much noise. You're thinking too loud. The final bell of the day. Thank God. Now that school was over, maybe someone would notice we were nowhere to be found. I gave Mark a sidelong look. You know, you never explained why you went all caveman on me in the first place, and I hope you know I do expect an explanation. He glared at me. Ooh, scary vampire glare. Whatever shall I do? I huffed in annoyance and draped my arms over my knees. If he hadn't dragged me to the club room, this wouldn't have happened. Probably. Then again, if it wasn't Mark, I might have ended up trapped with Adrian instead. If we hadn't been interrupted and he'd followed me to the club, then he and I would have ended up in a storage closet together. At least Adrian's more pleasant. To me, anyway. Though I still wasn't keen on being thrust between him and Mark. Saying of which, I shot Mark a sidelong look. What does Adrian have against your family anyway? Mark didn't answer, of course. I'm going to keep asking until you tell me. You don't get to drag me around by the arm, yell at me, then not give me an explanation. Oh, and the slamming me against the wall thing? Yeah, you can't do that either. And if you won't tell me what's really going on, I'll just ask Adrian, or Elliot, or anyone else who will answer. Because I don't get why you— Mark abruptly covered my mouth with his hand. Please stop talking. Do you have any idea what it's like to be trapped in a room with someone who is not only shouting at the top of her lungs, but also at the top of her mind? Even when you do finally stop talking, you keep screaming your thoughts at me until I think I'm going to go insane. Then answer my questions, you jerk. Oh. He let out a long, frustrated sigh as he removed his hand from my mouth. But he didn't move away. Instead, his hand slid gently over my cheek. You... I swallowed nervously as his fingertips brushed against my ear. His face was suddenly so close to mine. I stared up into his eyes. They were so pretty! Why is he looking at me like that? How can someone so small be so annoyingly loud? All the time. I suddenly had a difficult time forming words. Good vocal cords? Mark leaned closer to me, eyes half closed. Your thoughts are even louder than what comes out of your mouth, you know. It's not nice to eavesdrop. Then stop shouting at me all the time. Okay. His face is too close! Ouch! Okay, this is like having, like basically saying the words because he can hear us. in chapter 4, though. It's not smooch time yet. Gotta wait till, like, after chapter 5 at the very least. Ugh. I don't know what to do. Do I stick with the tsundere of being angry? Have we shown too much affection at this point and now need to bicker again? I don't feel like he would kiss her at this point, though. I don't think he's there, but I don't know. I don't know how to read this guy. I'm gonna double down on that tsundere-ness. Wait, I'm still mad at him! Smack! I moved away abruptly, pushing his hand from my face. I was so not going to be taken in by his stupid, pretty eyes and his even stupider cologne, and his stupid, pretty face, which was the only good thing about him anyway. And he heard all about how stupid and pretty he is. Who does he think he's fooling? Like I'm going to be won over because he's all, ooh, look at me subtly insulting you while I caress your face and look deeply into your eyes. Because I'm not! Stupid freaking vampire. I hate vampires. At first he looked a little surprised by me pushing away, but as I watched, something amazing and slightly terrifying happened. She made us laugh! Oh, that's much better than a kiss. Oh, yay! Look how happy he is. For the first time since I'd known him, he broke into a proper laugh. Oh my goodness, he's even more beautiful now. Look at this face! Oh, 2 CGs! Wow! After holding out on me for so long, you give me 2, sir. Oh shoot! He can hear this, can't he? Dang it, I really needed to watch my thoughts when I was around him. How embarrassing. Mark ran a hand through his hair as he rested his head against the wall and continued to laugh. Apparently, it was amusing to watch me argue with myself internally. It's not that funny. Either that or being trapped was finally making him crack. But the laughter slowly trailed off and he continued to smile down at me. I really need to teach you how to keep those kinds of thoughts to yourself. I'm not sure I'm ready to be tutored by you. You're not going to tell me how disturbing it is to see me laugh. Of course I'm not going to say that. I looked away, face stupidly red. Damn him. You have a nice smile, obviously. It's just a little weird seeing it. I rested my head against the wall. Sorry my thoughts are so loud. My voice came out sounding far meeker than I'd intended. I shouldn't even have to apologize for thinking, but I felt a little bad that it was apparently driving him a bit nuts. Well, it's not your fault. Though I've never met anyone that projects quite as much as you. I don't even have to be touching you to hear your thoughts. I gave him a sidelong look at that remark. That's why you don't like being touched? He shrugged. I don't like the feeling of someone else's thoughts intruding on my mind. William taught me how to block it out to a whisper, but that's only as long as I'm not touching someone. William taught him how to block it out? Man, William best friend. Physical contact makes it more difficult, and the feeling of someone injecting their feelings and thoughts into me against my will isn't something I enjoy. I wonder why Adrian doesn't like touching people then. He told me that he couldn't read minds like that. If you could be so kind as to stop thinking about him, I would greatly appreciate it. If it's bothering you that much, I can move to the other side of the room. No, it's fine. His stomach suddenly growled loudly. I looked at him suspiciously. Are you hungry? We've been in here a long time. I lifted an eyebrow. He looked back evenly.
Is there a problem? We've discussed the live food issue before, haven't we?
Just reminding you that I fight back, that's all. Just in case those hunger pangs made you forget.
You really don't take anything seriously.
I was born to speak all mirth and no matter. Much ado about nothing.
You know I hate Shakespeare.
Yeah. He huffed in annoyance and looked away. I smiled slightly. Awkward as things currently were between us, he was still fun to tease. Still, though, I sneaked a worried look at him. Just how hungry are you exactly?
Quite.
I thought you had 3 stomachs!
They're all empty.
Is this where I'm supposed to selflessly offer to let you bite me? He gave me a scathing look.
Don't be stupid. We've been trapped for 2 hours. We're not quite to the point of eating each other for survival yet.
He said that, but just how hungry was quite hungry. Maybe I should retreat to the opposite side of the room anyway. Then again, that wasn't going to help me if he decided to have a sip. His stomach growled again, very loudly. Is your society always this dramatic about everything? Mark sighed quietly, turning to me again.
I'm not trying to be dramatic.
Then you must just be a natural at it if you can do this well without even trying. Between your loud stomach, all your stomping around glaring at people and yelling at me. Not to mention you and Adrian both being weird about each other. The drama-o-meter has been off the charts for days already.
Drama-o-meter?
It's a thing. Definitely. If you keep sighing that much, we're going to have to start worrying about all the oxygen being displaced by carbon dioxide.
I'm surprised you even know what carbon dioxide is.
I'm not that awful at science, I'll have you know. I just don't enjoy it particularly.
If you weren't awful at it, you'd realize that if oxygen became a problem, we could always try to open a window.
We shared a look. Why haven't we tried to open a window to call for help yet?
I don't know about you, but I assume the windows are sealed by the same spell on the door.
I jumped to my feet and started across the room. We don't know that! Mark stood as well, but he just leaned against the desk to watch me wrestle with the blinds and with the window itself. It wasn't budging at all. Ugh.
Even if you were to open it and get someone's attention, it wouldn't help unless it's someone who knows how to deactivate the seal on the door.
If the windows are sealed too, then even when the sun sets, you won't be able to get out of here.
It would seem so.
Want to try throwing a desk through one?
If it comes to that, we can try, I suppose. Can you lower the blinds down? It's hurting my eyes.
Oh, sorry. I quickly lowered it again.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I forgot your eyes are a bit sensitive.
You can't even recall something that simple, but you insist on me explaining the complexities of vampire society to you.
Oh, don't pretend there's some deep and mysterious reason you dragged me into a supply closet.
The supply closet part was unintentional.
You know what I mean? The stupid, I don't know, rivalry between you and Adrian? Why he's so determined to annoy you? Why you're so quick to rise to the challenge, and whatever the heck the reason is, I'm in between it all? That's what I want to know. Mark let out an exasperated sigh and crossed his arms over his chest.
My parents have made several decisions that have annoyed a portion of the vampire community. More than annoy. Some see them as traitors, especially in the younger generation.
The younger generation meaning Adrian and his friends.
Correct. When my parents helped found the NPRA, it was seen as a betrayal of our society. especially since their reasons were to quash a sort of uprising of vampires.
Vampire uprising?
Decades ago. It's just a part of history now. At the time, certain circles within the vampire community had lofty ideals about vampires taking their place at the top of society. They would have upended human society when they revealed themselves, and it would have led to a lengthy and violent conflict, no doubt.
So they wanted to enslave humans, basically. Wow. That was stuff straight out of fiction, wasn't it? I'd had no idea there was ever anything like that. I really needed to brush up on cryptic history.
At any rate, my parents and several other prominent families worked with the government to stop the conflict before it started. They founded the NPRA, and that was when cryptics in this country began to face regulations regarding their interactions with the human world. There has always been contention over the laws we face, the fairness of them, and why we bother to put up with it all. Most of the laws that exist favor humans over paranormal species.
But you said your parents helped establish those laws.
Some of them. But that doesn't mean that others in our community agree with them. When my parents began a company aimed at providing for the unique needs of vampires and other cryptics, it was seen by some as exploitative. The end result is that my parents have many enemies. There are plenty who support what they've done, who believe the regulations protecting society are fair. There are many who do not.
Like Adrian.
My family have been pariahs to some in our community for nearly a century. Older vampires have come to accept it. Younger vampires question our situation.
I mean, I get it. Questioning the status quo is normal, but that was your parents, not you.
I'm disliked by association.
That's what Adrian said. Well, he left out the details, just that it had to do with your family. But still, why are they suddenly lashing out? Stealing your table and all that stuff out of nowhere. If this is some kind of decades-old grudge, then why are they only just now being jerks about it?
The catalyst for that was you, but the tensions have been building for some time.
So there's more to the story than just the NPRA thing.
Of course there is.
Is there some sort of regulation on vampires being tutored by Fae?
I highly doubt they knew you were Fae from the start.
Yeah, Adrian did mention that he thought I was human at first, now that I think about it. So, are there regulations about vampires being tutored by humans?
Of course not.
It's something about Raven, isn't it? Mark gave me a startled look.
Where did you hear that term?
I heard Adrian and his friends say it. They were watching us walk together and said something about it being bold. It kind of stuck with me. Given everything else that's happened, that must be related, right? Mark slumped slightly, staring past me at the wall.
I suppose it would seem bold of me to walk down the hall with someone I'd marked as prey.
Okay. Raven, apparently coming from the word ravenous, is a vampire term for someone a vampire has marked as their prey. More than that, it's also a term for someone who has completely fallen under a vampire spell and no longer has the will or ability to resist the vampire's commands. Well, after Adrian talked to Nora for like 2 seconds, he should have realized that was not what was going on there. Marked as prey? That's what a raven is? Basically someone you plan on eating?
More or less. And apparently he believed that's what I was doing.
And? Were you? I mean, we all know Mark would never. That's completely ridiculous, frankly.
Is it?
I don't think you're like that.
That's very generous, but what if I am, in fact, like that?
I gave him a long look. What was he trying to say by that? Was he just trying to play devil's advocate, or did he really see himself that way? Or was he just admitting that's how he saw me? Then, are you like that?
I don't know. Vampires get attached to others easily. Too easily. Who's to say why that is?
He reached for me cautiously, catching a lock of my hair and startling me as he twisted it gently between his fingers.
When I saw you with Adrian, I was angry, just as he expected me to be. All I wished was to get you away from him. You tell me what caused that level of possessiveness. An instinctive drive to keep a competitor away from my prey.
He released my hair and looked away. Aww.
Even I don't know if that's why.
When he looked at me again, there was something strangely vulnerable in his expression, and that is not a word I ever expected to think in relation to Mark.
You're content to be around me when you're my tutor, or when you can call yourself my friend. But if, in the end, you're simply another prey to me, I doubt you would still be content.
Of course I'm not going to be happy if you tell me you see me that way. No friendship is going to survive if it's based on cannibalism.
It's not...
Nope! Not a word! Look, when you dragged me in here, you didn't just yell at me for getting involved with another vampire, like some jealous predator. You yelled at me for getting involved with vampires in general. Sounded more like worry for my well-being than worry someone else would bite me first. I'm not saying I'm okay with you dragging me around for any reason, because I'm not. I'm just saying that whatever the reason for that little display of possessiveness, as you call it, I don't think it was something as simplistic as instinct. I paused and hit him on the arm. But don't ever do it again, you jerk! Seriously. That was so humiliating.
I apologize. It was childish of me. It won't happen again. You have my word.
Then, apology accepted. You know, even understanding all this instinct stuff, I still don't really get why they care. Even if you were using me as a raven, why are Adrian and his group getting so angsty about it?
Such relationships are illegal.
Oh.
Drinking from anyone without permission is illegal. This has been a long-standing law for vampires.
I mean, makes sense. Like, if it's consensual between the two of you, that's one thing. But if he's using, like, vampire manipulation to take away your free will, then that would make sense. Okay. Here we go. There are some pretty strict laws that vampires have to follow about eating, which does seem a little weird until you consider that for most vampires, eating typically refers to biting people, in which case it does make a little more sense. That said, having a host of regulations about consent and contracts over something as basic as eating seems a little fair and punitive, especially having it dictated to you when you can eat, where, with whom, etc. Yeah, okay, I don't think I've read this yet. I guess because eating for vampires often involves a close interpersonal interaction with another person, they've had to set some guidelines. All sorts of things come into play, including things like how old both parties are. It gets even more problematic when you factor in the vampire ability to just charm people into doing whatever they want by batting their eyes a few times.
In the situation of a raven, the bond there allows the vampire to easily manipulate the other person's mental state. You can't stop being a raven because you want to, only if you are allowed to do so. It's easy to say that someone volunteered their blood. It gets more difficult when it's questionable how in control of their own mind that person was.
even if you broke the law, I mean, that's just on you, right?
The last time someone broke a law within our community, it created a massive uproar and caused the implementation of several new regulations.
Alex?
It's always like that for us. If one of us messes up, then everyone suffers.
Look, no offense, but I honestly can't see regulations about eating people as a bad thing.
Perhaps because you're not the one being told when you can eat, where you can eat, how much you can eat, or how you can interact with other people.
There's an entire government administration regulating food.
It's not the same. Unlike you, I can't simply eat in the school cafeteria or casually mention what I had for lunch. It's trivial, yes, but it's also something so basic you take it completely for granted. There are situations where we are required to fill out waivers and forms to eat, just to fill a basic body function.
I could see what he was saying, and yet one of their primary food sources was other people. That complicated things. Surely they had to see why. But I could see his side of it as well. When he said it that way, it did sound awfully restrictive. Oppressive, even. I don't know the answer there. I just think that regulating supernatural people while guarding everyone's rights is probably really difficult. And enormously complex.
And in the end, the laws always favor humans.
So that was where the bitterness came from, I guess. I could understand it. It wasn't as if every individual human was responsible for the situation, but it was easy to grow to resent the entire group because of the actions of a few. Or because it seemed like they were favored. The ignorance of those who didn't know they were favored was probably equally frustrating. Even learning all of this, I had some unanswered questions. Like, what was the last major incident? And did it involve this Alex person that Adrian mentioned? And what exactly happened? Why did it make Adrian doubt Mark? With the current mood, I didn't feel like I could ask. Maybe I just asked Allie. I was sure she knew about it. I straightened, stretching my arms out and letting out a yawn. Ooh. I can't believe Allie hasn't noticed that I'm nowhere to be found.
Perhaps she has. It seems unlikely anyone would think to search the rooms up here first, though.
If that's the case, we need to seriously start considering other ways to get out of here.
I had thought that after sundown it would be easier for me to attempt to leave through one of the windows. But now that we've confirmed the windows are sealed, that's not an option.
In any case, by that time my parents will have alerted the Army, the Coast Guard, and probably the FBI that I'm missing again. Just between us, I'm not going to be able to come up with a reasonable explanation for how I got locked in this room with a boy for half the school day.
I also wouldn't particularly enjoy trying to explain this to my parents.
So, thoughts?
None. We've already tried to go back through the closet. I nearly lost my sanity listening to you yell for help for half an hour. And the only other reasonable way out right now is through the door, which is sealed.
Can't you try to break it down?
It's not just shut and locked. It has a magic barrier on it, you know. You can't expect me to be able to just knock it down.
And I was almost impressed by those biceps. Guess I was way overestimating you. I took my jacket off and pushed my sleeves up. Fine, I'll do it.
This should be interesting.
Well, someone has to at least try it. If it's something like a barrier, maybe we can at least break the door. If there's an open space, even if we can't get through it, we'll be seen and heard more easily, right? He said nothing, but leaned against the empty desk and folded his arms over his chest, watching. He was trying to hide it, but I saw that smirk pulling at his lips. I glared at him. Stupid jerk. He should be the one doing it. He was the one with super vampire strength or whatever. Not to mention that even without vampire powers, he was twice my size. He raised an eyebrow.
I'm hungry.
Is that a threat or an excuse?
We're like anyone else. Our stamina and strength lessen when we're hungry. Far more dramatically with us than with humans.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like an excuse to me. While vampires don't experience the crazed bloodthirst you see in a lot of fiction, their abilities are more closely tied to their hunger than humans. They apparently go from being totally fine to completely famished rather quickly. Their stamina rapidly fades and they lose energy very quickly. Even their oh-so-superior vampire abilities fade away to almost nothing when they haven't eaten in a while. I think that's what Adrian was trying to get at. I'm hungry too, and I'm not whining nearly as much as you are.
You've done nothing but whine since we ended up here.
I glared at him and lifted my foot, aiming for the side near the doorknob. Shut up! I brought my foot down hard. Holy crap, I did it! To my surprise, the door flew open, causing me to stumble forward. It slammed into something, then bounced back, whacking me in the face. Ow!
Ow.
Wait, who was that? I glanced up as I regained my footing. Peering at me from behind the door, I saw a vaguely familiar shape. Why the hell? How did you find us? Good God. What? Fine. Adrian? You don't have gloves on. He grabbed me by the shoulders, grinning.
Thank goodness. We've been looking for you for...
He stopped suddenly, and I glanced over my shoulder. Mark was standing right behind me, glaring. He abruptly released me, holding both hands up.
You don't have to worry. She's not exactly to my taste, if you know what I mean.
I shot him a puzzled look. To his taste? Hey! I shoved him aside, stalking past him. Damn it, I am not an all-you-can-eat buffet. Stupid freaking... Now it was my turn to pull up short when I saw who else was standing there. What? Hi? Bro? Why are you here?
Well, I was going to the club to look for you after this Neanderthal dragged you off. Your brother was in the club looking for you, so we started to look together.
In the club looking for me? Spencer looks off to the side like... Man, that magic spell really just has a funny sense of humor, I guess. I narrowed my eyes.
He was just leaving when I got there.
Okay.
And how long ago was that?
He stepped into the hall as well, sidestepping Adrian as he eyed my brother. Please read his mind.
Well, it was right after you dragged her away like an overprotective boyfriend.
So since study hall. Mark and I shared a look. Spencer had been in the club room, and that's why we'd ended up locked in a random class, because he'd freaked out the protection spell. Which meant he'd wanted to go back there after this morning for some reason.
You do realize that her brother is not a club member? No? Wait, he's not?
Just gonna make a quiet exit here. Spencer started edging away. Oh shoot. Adrian, for frick's sake.
If he's not a club member, then he's human?
Spencer broke into a run at that. Oh, for the love of... Thanks a lot, Adrian! I took off after Spencer.
I didn't know!
I had to stop Spencer and try to explain things. I had to make him sit down and listen. At the very least, I didn't want him to have a complete meltdown somewhere public. Damn it, why can't one thing go as planned? Tackle him! You can't like, if you try to grab him, he'll just, like, slam you. If you, call out to him, he'll ignore you. You got this. Just go for the legs. Go below the knees. As soon as I was close enough, I made a frantic leap at Spencer. I hit the middle of his back, grabbed his waist, and dragged him to the floor.
Let me go! Let go!
No! I wrapped myself around him and got him in a headlock, as all good sisters know how to do. Stop struggling!
How can I stop struggling when you're trying to strangle me?
I'll stop strangling you when you stop struggling. Man, it had been years since we'd wrestled like this. Yeah. It was kind of nice to know I could still win.
She's kind of scary, isn't she? I'm glad she's not my sister.
I don't know. This is fairly entertaining.
Mark is into wrestling/strangulation. Check. Gotcha. I glared over my shoulder at them both. Shut it! Both of you! Taking a deep breath, I slightly eased my grip on Spencer. I'm going to let you go, but if you try to run, I'm going to make one of them tackle you next. You have to listen to what I'm going to tell you. I released him and we both got to our feet. Spencer looked like he still might bolt at any moment. I just want to explain things to you. He rubbed his neck, shooting me a baleful glare.
Hard to make a case for just wanting to have a conversation when you're putting people in headlocks.
Then don't try to run!
What did you expect me to do? Do you know I spent my entire afternoon scouring the school looking for you with a vampire?
Well, yeah. Spencer reached in his book bag and pulled out something, flinging it at me. It was my journal. Shock.
And what about everything written in that?
I fumbled to catch it and realized it was my journal. What are you doing with this? Did you take it this morning in the club?
I did. I read it all.
You're not supposed to be able to read this. You said you forgot. You lied? Out of breath, red-faced, and looking more than a little angry, he gestured at Mark and Adrian.
So have you! This is what you've been hiding! I knew it! I knew you were some kind of
Don't you dare say it!
Does it feel good to lie to us like this?
No! No, it doesn't, actually. I hate it.
Yeah, right.
He whirled around and started to go. I caught his arm and yanked him back.
You want to keep lying, then fine. Just leave me out of it.
Hey, you're the one who's been stalking me around. You don't get to run away just because you got caught.
I told you to let go!
I didn't see the hand coming toward me until it made contact with my face. I stared at him in shock. He stood there, hands still raised, breathing heavily. I was too stunned to move until I felt Mark's arm wrap around my shoulders and pull me back.
That's enough! She's your sister. What do you think you're doing? You have no idea who she is!
He advanced on us both.
You think she's not lying to all of you, too?
Adrian caught him by the upper arms and held him in place.
Just knock it off.
Spencer twisted out of his grip and rounded on him, fist raised. Adrian caught it easily. I will admit, in this situation, it is very handy having two vampire boyfriends.
Come on. I said that's...
Adrian! His expression looked confused, then almost dreamy. Spencer suddenly went down like a rock. Adrian definitely has the vampire persuasion. Adrian yanked his hand back, looking shocked. Spencer! What did you do to him? I struggled out of Mark's arms and knelt beside Spencer, shaking him. He was completely limp. I pulled him close, staring at Adrian with wide eyes. What's wrong with him?
Where are your gloves?
They got dirty earlier. I'd taken them off, but I was being careful. I'm sorry.
We need to carry him to the club room before someone comes up and finds us all.
He gently pushed me out of the way and lifted Spencer into his arms. What's happening?
He's a vitae, a vampire that feeds off life energy. And he just drained your brother.
Whoa! Like, permanently? Hopefully not. Hopefully Spencer can recharge. Oh boy. There's more than one type of vampire. There are several subclasses, but the two most common are sanguine, blood drinkers, and vitae, who drain the life energy from people by touching them. There are other types I don't know the names of, such as those that feed off the psychic energy released by emotions and things like that. Those that feed off emotions, cool. As if Spencer weighed absolutely nothing, and let's face it, Spencer was at least 5 inches shorter than Mark and way skinnier, Mark picked him up and started down the hall.
I'm sorry. It was an accident. I didn't think...
He stared down at his hands as if shocked by something. We should follow Mark.
Yeah.
With that, we trailed behind Mark as he carried my unconscious brother to the club room.